me go over here and okay, good, Kristen. Let me put on a little bit of an intro so we can allow people to come in and I can share to the network, which will make it easier. Okay, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. All right. All right. There's big things happening. No coincidences. All these synchronicities coming together. To Michael Van Patten for this incredible intro that he produced, along with so many other things he's done for Soulogy. All right. Let me just clear the traffic on here. Let's see here. How's it going, everybody? Let me just get us set up here. I'm going to put the Zoom link. Hello, Vienna. Oop, what the hell? I'm going to put the Zoom link in the comments. So if anybody's having problems on Facebook and gets knocked off, you can always go to Zoom and watch it live. You can also watch replays on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Good to see everybody. We got 27 people in the house, and I want to thank everybody for your continued love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing this every single day. And also, if these shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay above these algorithms at Facebook. Although we are coming up with a plan as we speak. Hello, Angelique Kruger. How's it going? Long time no see. It's good to see you back. A dear friend of mine, old friend of mine. Very, very good friend. We're coming out with something very soon. You know, you probably heard me talk about it for the last 2 years, and finally it's coming to fruition. So we're moving closer to that, and we should have some news on that this week. It's going to be, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's going to be a big step for Soulogy, and I think for the Lightworker community. And we're going to expand this platform so other people can come in here and do their own artistic expressions. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So anyway, let's get our guest up here. It's the second show of the day. We got a beloved sister by the name of Kristen, who I've not met, just like we like it. Spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about or doing, courageous. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to capture that energy right now. Let me make sure I got her up here. Let's see. Kristen, let's see. Can you hear me?
I am here. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, sorry about what? There you go.
I am
What's
here.
happening? Yeah, there you go. It's just a little bit of a flaw. It's a little bit of a flaw. We're at the mercy of the Zooms and the YouTubes and the Facebooks of the world. But you know what? Not for very long. We're working on a solution.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was trying to start this as a watch party, and all I could hear was you on Facebook and not you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can do that. You just have to turn the volume off. That's what I do.
I was trying to do that and it wasn't working. Oh well.
Yeah.
Here we are.
You can, well, you can go ahead and do it if you want to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'll tell you what, you can try to work that out. What I would tell you is what you got to do is you have to click on it like you're going to watch it. Click on it, click, and it'll start, and then click on it again, and it'll make a big picture, right? And then at the bottom right, just click the volume, and it'll silence the volume, and you can run that while the show's running, so you can see comments and that type of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great because I was doing that to
Oh,
click
you
the
got it?
volume, but the volume wasn't working. I wasn't
Oh,
able to click the volume. Now I can. So
yeah,
perfect.
you got it.
So
I'm
yeah.
going to, since we don't know you, and I want to go ahead and, hang on, let me just see what my dear friend said here. I haven't seen her in a long time. She says, well, thank you. Hope your birthday was beautiful. Yes, it was. Angelique Kruger, dear friend of mine from South Africa, beautiful lady. Um, I've got a little bio here that Kristen provided, and I want to read a little bit of it. She is an awakening life design coach, intuitive energy healer, crystalline grid network architect, and intergalactic council member. Through several years of guidance and activations from Archangel Metatron, Melchizedek, and other light beings, Kristen facilitates transformations on all levels of one's being to harmonize mind, body, heart, and soul, coming into the clear connection with guides and higher self. She also leads one into the practical to design a soul-led life while achieving optimal health for a complete transformation. That's probably something I need to pay attention to, but you know, stubborn is the human, stubborn is the soul. No, that's great. This is the type of, in 1,600 episodes, this is the type of thing we've been looking for. Many women in particular step up a lot of times for the first time on this program publicly, that have been doing work for many years. It sounds very similar to
Hmm.
what you've been doing. A lot of them
Yes.
specialize in the same types of things. I call them energy practitioners.
Yeah.
People use different terms, but yeah, this is the kind of stuff that needs to get out there, and it's a pleasure to have you here. It's an honor to have you here, and thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
space with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your show and what
Mm,
you're putting out into the world and creating. So yeah, it's an
thank you.
honor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I don't know if you've watched too many of the shows, but the famous question when we don't know much about the person is, when did you wake up? Did
Yeah,
you
that's
did you have I'm just curious because, and I asked that question because there's a lot of people waking up more and more every day, and they're going through the same thing all of us did. And some of the experiences allow them to feel less crazy and a little bit more confident in what the hell's going on. But did you have a series of traumas like a lot of people, or did you have a smooth ride?
Oh no, I came in as a young child. I remember being here. I mean, very young, at an age where people probably don't really have cognizant memories of being very unhappy on this planet, and not really understanding why people why they behave the way they did, and it felt really uncomfortable to me. And so I kind of just shelled myself in for most of my life, honestly, and as a protective measure. And then honestly, what I found out was, I don't remember, like third grade, say, all of third grade. And what I found out after went through my more deepening awakening process, I found out that I had a soul encapsulation. And I'm not sure if that's something you're familiar with, or
No,
most of your listeners are, but
no. What is
yeah,
that? What
it's
is that?
when the forces, that don't want us to be waking up, come and somehow through some process take part of your energy, take part of your soul, and take it with them,
Hmm.
and use it to manipulate your energy, and to take enough of your energy so that you can't really function and process the way that you were meant to on this
Mm.
planet. And so when I don't remember that full year of when that took place, and then after that, I had a really rough time. I was bullied, I was, and then I in turn became violent myself. I had a lot of behavioral and, problems. And then all of a sudden, it's like when I went from younger school to into high school, I just remember going into a much bigger school, because I was mostly went to Catholic school when I was younger, which is a whole nother
So
experience.
many light workers, including myself, started out Catholic. I think that was the beginning of the soul encapsulation. Now that you
Oh
explain to
yeah.
us what it is.
Oh yeah. Well, in church, I always remember just looking up at the stained glass and all the geometries and everything in church and going, wow, that's my home. I never paid
Hmm.
attention, and all of that. And it just really made sense to me. But I was like, why is it in this structure? Why is it in this place? And why are they saying saying those things because it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So anyways, when I was in high school, there was something that just I got in touch with a larger, broader population of
Mm,
people.
mm,
And it stirred inside of me going, oh, wait, not everyone is like this, or not everyone is.
yeah.
And so it woke me up to go, I want to explore myself more. I want to explore who I am. And I ended up, in friendships with people who were a little bit more alternative,
Yeah.
maybe more bohemian or hippie and, that lifestyle. And that's really probably when I was 16, 17, when things started really waking up for me.
Mm,
Because when I was younger, I was intuitive and I wanted to help people. And, I would always go up to people and just massage people. Like my mom always thought I was going to become, a massage therapist or something. So it's just a natural thing that I would do. And so in high school, when I just explored more, my intuition, my energy healing capabilities started to come in, and I started doing yoga and meditation, and becoming vegetarian and all these things that just felt right for my
in high
body and
school, you
energy
started all
in high
this?
school.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in my early 20s, I went to California. I grew up in New York State, and I went to California, and I had a yoga teacher actually in New York State in college. And she was like, why aren't you in California? And I didn't understand what she meant. And then when I got there, I did, and
Yeah.
things really woke up for me there. I mean, I just
Yeah.
started having like incredible energy body,
Yeah.
pulsations, like my chakras started coming alive.
Yeah.
And then I started being able to see what was going on with people physically. People would walk by me, or people would come to me, and I would just be able to see what was happening physically with them, and why
Yeah.
it was happening.
Yeah.
And then my friends would confide in me on my intuition and all of that, but I never made it a practice.
Yeah.
I never made it a practice. And it wasn't until actually 2013, when you ask when like my awakening, I feel like it's been happening all my life. But it wasn't until 2013 when I went through probably like a dark night of the soul for about 6 years, just really in a deep,
Did it did
intense.
it did it end did it end in 2013, or did it just end?
It was
6
like
years.
it started around when I was 28,
Mm,
and it was very fascinating. I moved in with this man, and we became business partners, and then over time became intimate, and we have a son together now. And he was very, I would say spiritual. He's very spiritually advanced. He's one of those people that came to this planet to hold space. But he had like bookshelves full of all the channeled material, all the alchemy, just so much material. And when I moved in with him, it was like bam, just the vibration that he held,
yeah.
all of everything that I was that wasn't in alignment with who I was just came to the surface. And
Yeah.
it was like, okay, are you ready for this ride? And it was very extremely challenging for all of us that know when that type of thing happens. But what was very fascinating to me was that when I was in front of all of that material, like you'd say, why don't you read this or study this? It was very clear to me not to.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why at the time. But then when me and him were going through a really rough time, I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy. I was leaving him. I was like, I'm just done. I need to go by myself somewhere and just do my own thing and gather me, because this has been too much for these 6 years of just being in this intensity. It's kind of like him and I, two, what do you call it? Like really advanced people coming together. When that happens, sometimes it's more of a clash than it is a coming together. It was kind of like that. And so I left, and I really wanted to know what was going on. And so I sought out a quantum therapy hypnotherapy. And during our first set, and there was this one woman, her name just kept popping off of the page of practitioners. So I called her, we made a session, and when in our session together, so in the process, they lead you through a series of past lives, and then through a death of one of your past lives to reach your subconscious and to talk to your subconscious. And when she asked to talk to my subconscious, her higher self came through to talk to her
Yeah.
through me. And she was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then after her high, and it was beautiful. I mean, the geometry and the everything that was going on was really beautiful. And I was just going with the flow. I'm like, here I am. I know this is a part of me. So I'm just going to let this flow and happen. And then, because I was really right there with it, I wasn't in a deep enough trance to where I wasn't cognizant of what's going on. And then after her higher self said her piece and did what she needed to do, our Archangel Metatron came in. And this was the first time I'd ever had any interaction with Archangel Metatron. And he was talking to us about the new earth forming and all of these things happening, and actually asked us to work together, the
Wow.
practitioner and I, to work together, to go through, all these activations and understand what the new earth was and dimensions and all of that. And so from that moment on, me and her would get together regularly and do sessions together and bring through what wanted to come through. And then that just really catapulted the awakening. And then after that, Melchizedek came through, Mother Mary, the Pleiadians. It's like whoever needs to come through for whomever I'm in touch with, or whatever needs to happen at the time comes through. So I'm not really affiliate of any one in particular.
Yeah.
I'm just able to bring through, Arcturians, whatever is called for in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And and there's a lot of people that
it's been really powerful since
yeah.
then. So
yeah, I wouldn't say a lot
Yeah.
of people. I don't want to diminish anything or anyone. It's really, things have moved really
Yeah.
fast this year. So a lot of the stuff that's gone on in our development has taken on a new perspective, I guess. It's really crazy, but
Yes.
many people have had, again, similar stories like this, and it always makes me wonder, like, well, how does that work? Like, I've never run into Metatron.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's part of our composition or how all that stuff works. But I mean, given your story and everything that you've
I
gone
can talk
through,
about that when you want to.
yeah, we can
Uh-huh.
talk. We can talk about that. But I wanted to ask
How
you
that
first.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you
Sure.
first. I wanted to ask you, like, going through all this stuff and coming out of that thing in 2013, and then going through these last few years and watching everything, especially being that you're an energy practitioner. Are you seeing a change in your practice? Are you seeing people coming in more expanded, more aware, able to take things in quicker and process through them quicker? What are you seeing in the collective in general, compared to what you were seeing in 2013, 2014, 2015?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, we're reaching such a state of awakening that more and more people are just boom, waking up and just exploring all of this. And so I feel like I have two main groups of type of people that I am interacting with. And one is the person like me who's already been doing this work for years,
Yeah.
even decades, and are wanting to go to the next level, but they feel they need some guidance. So those people are coming to me for just those upgrades of just, okay, one-on-one, let's dive in, let's do what needs to be done so you can, catalyze this experience. And then I have the other group of people that are, more in the beginning of their awakening, and they're exploring. And what I'm doing with them is getting them more focused, because I find that a lot of times when people are waking up, they're just like, ooh, that channeled material or this stuff or that, I'm going to look into the Mermaids, Atlantis, and they just kind of get spun out because there's
I call it the wow factor. The wow factor.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, in my early days, 8 years ago, the first 7 months in particular, first year or so, that it was extraordinary. Glass breaking. As I go into prayer and I ask a question, a glass breaks. That was Archangel Michael. A big tea glass breaks and shatters all over me, or
Wow.
or a dome appears above me in a soccer field at 2:00 in the morning, and but it's the wow factor. And I remember over the years, like, as friends of mine would start to wake up and they'd be like, I gotta tell you what happened, man. I'd be like,
Yeah.
dude, get over the wow and get back to work. And really, it's a different type of attachment, I think, than, say, past traumas. It's a little bit different, but it can still kind of bog you down if you don't let go of it, because you got to keep that channel open. Now, you were talking about from my inquisitive mind, this curiosity that I have regarding how do these consciousnesses work, and I'm going to give you kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not saying I'm right at all. This is just kind of how I see it. I want to see what your perspective is, because you said you had an explanation of it. But I look at it like this, like, for instance, like if you look at the man Jesus Christ, or the soul Jesus Christ, I don't think anybody really knows the real story. But let's just say, in this example, as I'm trying to connect with you, that this man walked the earth in, in the Holy Land, and
Mhm.
he did some of the things that he purportedly did. Uh, Obviously, they didn't have internet, and so there was a limitation, word of mouth, that type of thing, in terms of his doings. Now, what I see is, like, of course, and then in the perfect paradoxical style of the universe, this alternate force comes in and tries to, use it as a propaganda machine, or whatever you want to call it, changes the story, takes Mary Magdalene out, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But through the religious institutions, primarily, and the sacred books, and all the revisionist Bibles included, there were people that connected to the essence of this person, of this soul.
Mhm.
And through their faith and through their connection, which was somewhat of a mirror, this consciousness and power of this soul, or this consciousness, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, grew and grew and grew and grew and continues to grow. And I don't know if that's just the way I kind of like look at this. I don't get stuck on a lot because it's kind of a story. But what do you know about that? Why
Yeah.
is it that Metatron talks to you and he doesn't talk to me?
Sure, sure.
or
Yeah.
why Melchizedek, or even why is it that some people pull in certain things and some people don't?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. And I also just wanted to just for one moment go back to what we were talking to before I answer this, because when we're just talking about this awakening and we're seeing these people wake up, I'm also seeing a large population of people that are getting, like, boom, the nudge, the call, but they're just like, not time yet. And I think that's where some of the biggest key pieces in our health issues are going to be coming up, because that is huge. I mean, I have people wanting to connect with me, but then when they connect with me and they're like, okay, I'm like, are you ready? It's like, I'm not. Why is this happening to me? I don't want this happening to me. I'm not ready,
Mm.
And so I'm also just seeing a large population of that going on. And so I would encourage anybody that is having that, just find support, because no matter what, it's going to keep happening as
Yeah.
much as we don't want it to
Let
happen.
go or be dragged. Yeah, you can't fight
Yeah.
it anymore.
No,
You
we
can't.
can't fight it anymore.
Somebody said the other day, it's like a spigot was turned on. I said, no, it's not. It's like a fire hose. And it is.
It is. Oh,
It's
yeah.
accelerating rapidly.
Yeah.
We talk about 2019, but if you
Yeah.
look at 1 year ago, the way these things would come in,
Oh,
we
yeah.
would have an integration period.
Integration.
You don't like have like a big one in the month, and then you'd integrate
Yeah.
for 10 or 12 days, and then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now it's not like that. Now
It's
it's
back to
coming
back.
pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. You take a breath, that's your
Yeah.
integration. You
Yeah.
inhale, exhale, and you're back on to the next one.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak more of what you just asked, and then I want to talk more about what is going on and kind of that whole experience
Mhm.
of what is happening. So as a whole, we're all unified, right? On some level, there's no separation on some level. But then as we did separate from the larger source, we each had different unique expressions that we somehow as a soul fell into. Like, say some of us went to Sirius, some of us went to Venus or Pleiadians or a whole nother universe, right? That when we have somehow ended up here on this planet or somewhere else in this universe, when we start waking up, whoever we have been in all of our past lives and who we came out as from the beginning when we first individuated as a soul, that's really what we're going to have the energy signature for whoever we communicate with,
Yes. Yeah.
so. And then eventually, kind of what's happening right now is just such a mass communication is happening that some of us, the more we enter into the unity field, will come into contact with people that or beings, energies, planets, universes that we may never have had contact with before. But right now in this awakening process, to really get our bodies, our minds, our energy bodies, and everything in rhythm with who we really are, we're
Yeah.
going to have that contact.
Yeah.
And with who we resonate with the most on an energy level, soul level.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting too, because like some people, they're like all elemental. They're like totally elemental. I asked a guy one day I said, you seem like you have an elemental connection or air about you. He said, well, just take a look at my face. And it really, if you looked at him, he looked like a little elf, and so some people have the
Yeah.
elemental connection. Some people have like a smorgasbord. I don't know how that all works, but it really, I know I don't spend a lot of time on it because I realize as time goes on, more and more that whatever the you, me, we, and it is, however that's constructed, we're being forced to be present, basically. I mean,
Present.
that's really it, and it's such a ironic, paradoxical thing that all this time we were running from the one aspect that's most conscious, and we're like the dog chasing its tail. Now we're back at the place that we started, and finding out, I'm beginning to find out what a divine human being can be.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And when you're saying that some people are more elemental, it's like those people may have actually been
Mhm.
more connected with the human genetics of this planet, because some of us aren't.
Yeah.
Some of us aren't. And so like me, I never really was a being on a particular planet for a very long period of time. I was one that just kind of went through the universes and helped keep things in balance where they needed to keep in balance. And I have many memories even before Earth got distorted with all these power and control dynamics.
Yeah.
And watching and being a part of the process of trying to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
And so now I'm here to have to be physical on this planet, to work from the inside out, right? And take on all of these things to experience the experiences of it all, and then help shift it, on a genetic level, and as well as a, physical, mental, emotional level. And, when you say like divine human being, it's kind of like, well, can we really even call ourselves humans? Because we're not all from Earth, which is the human genetics. We're not all we've kind of intermingled all the DNA, but soon here, what I'm seeing happening is we're going to be going beyond DNA. We're kind of really amping up the whole DNA experience and process. But then at some point, we're not even going to be dealing with genetics anymore. We're just going to be dealing with light, our intention, our awareness. And that's why, like you say, being present is so key right now, because everything is mass reconstructing right now. This recent sun codes that came in just in the beginning of the month really amped up the restructuring of our consciousness, our physical bodies. And so it's like, okay, where are you going to put your attention? Where are you going to put your awareness? Are you going to be present with your experience and not worry about all these other things that are going on, and just boom, keep it right
That's very
here?
true. Yeah, that's very true. And I agree with you. I think, although, when I broke out of the gates 8 years ago, my whole thing was, well, of course, hashtag I am soul. And I would say, I am not a human being. I'm not a human being. I am soul, and go on these spirit walks, and that's how this all started, and filming them and everything. But then I met an ET by the name of Morgan Lee, and I'd never even given a galactic thought, in terms of like in the same context of in my connections that I was having, in my experiences I was having with ascended masters, angelics, and animals and different things. But what I've kind of well, first of all, once I met her, then she explained to me that you had to embody all of this information and bring it into the human experience. And it took me like 2 years. I always tell this story, but it took me like 2 years to really understand what is embodiment. But now I'm starting to understand, and this is where I see the human, and hashtag the human is the hero, is that we are actually like universal soldiers. So even if you didn't have, but this is your first life here, and I've met many people like you, or you started at the soil, and came up like I did, and have been everything on the earth. I'm still carrying code. You're carrying code. Through this interaction, we're going to exchange that code, and this is going on in multiplicity around the world. So we're like universal soldiers, is one of the downloads I got one time. That when we're through with this trip, because of our universal star-seeded nature, again, I'm speaking energetically and metaphorically, but because of the fact that we carry all this code, we'll be able to go and do a lot do things a lot like you described you did before you came into this incarnation, which is to go around and provide this code and illumination for different places, and being able to do that because of the composition of the earth, and then of course those that walk the earth. But yeah, it's an interesting proposition. Do you have a certain like routine? Do you have to like dial up these different essences that are comprising the universe, or do they just come tap you on the shoulder?
There, it's very interesting. In the beginning, it felt very separate, and now I just feel unified with them. It's just instantaneous. It's just me. It's just us. It's just we, it's like
Right.
there's no, it's just who I am, right? And so it's right here all the time. And that's the power of, once we get to a certain way of being, is that because when you're talking about that, like the earth and the structure and everything, this planet originally was meant to be the harmonic that was able to live in unity with abundance of a diversity. And that's why this planet is so diverse in its animals and its creatures and human form, right? And so we are embodying all of that code, but then that code now is to shift it into where we're not dealing with a separation code anymore. It's not all these different sequences. It's like one sequence that, with whatever thought and intention we creates whatever it is that wants to be manifest. So, but for me, it's like I work with Metatron, Melchizedek, and all that, and those, because they're the ones that are really dealing with the structure of what's happening right now. And that's kind of the key of what I'm dealing with, is, okay, what do these dimensions mean? And how do we help people shift frequency and shift vibration? And then now they're showing, like, okay, well, these dimensions mean something, like the toroidal field, the flower of life, the Merkaba, what all those have to do with our coming into a unity field, and the light field, and the genetic field that will actually take us beyond the genetics, and so when we're dealing with the structure, that's just my role. I deal with the structure and balance and harmony. So that's why I'm in connection with them, and it's just a part of me, so it just comes out. It's not, I don't really see it as a separate experience anymore like I used to.
No, I get what you're saying. Totally. I totally get what you're saying. And I always like to ask people like you as well, so the human, right? The human, it there has to be something to it, because of the fact that we are conscious. It's 99% of our consciousness. Now it's changing, but 99% of our consciousness is here in that present moment. What am I? I'm a multidimensional being in a human body. But so there's got to be something. Like, I believe that we're actually writing the template. We're writing the new blueprint. We're writing the new good book through our experiential, combined with our memories coming back, skills, abilities, and all that. What happens to someone like you when you get triggered? When energy hits you and knocks you on your butt, or somebody does something and you get triggered, how do you handle that? And or how do you take your clients through it?
Yeah, that's a very powerful question, because me, I'll give you a little back history. When I was just this being of light, traveling, multi-universally to just manage energy, right? Energetically, to keep balance. There was a time when things really shifted and we were being attacked, right? And so at that time, what we did to protect ourselves, beings like me, is we put in our field, we didn't take them on, but we put a field around us that had all like these distortions, so that when we were seeing, oh, they've got this, we're not going to mess with them because they've already been distorted, right? On a level
it was like
emotion or things like that.
It was like a facade. It was
like a holographic field, just putting up a holographic field that
or they're reading it and going, oh, we already got that one. We don't need to go beat her up anymore.
So what happened is that I remember very viscerally, is through a series of lives, I had some very intense experiences where I was actually being prepped to come to Earth. And I went through a lot of challenging situations where I was actually a liaison with the beings that wanted to distort Earth. And because I had that field around me, I was going through these challenges. I took it on. I actually took on these distortions into the physical body that I was embodying at the time. And so I am here not only to work with the balance of this planet, but I'm also to work on the imbalance that I took on. So sometimes when I get triggered, I act like a stupid, human.
No,
I
I'm
can get
not.
angry, I can get
Well,
frustrated.
no, no,
But
seriously,
yeah,
seriously,
yeah,
I think that's important. And that's the thing, I guess, that I'm getting at. And
it's real.
thank you
It's
so
real.
much for your answer
Yeah.
because, well, it's not uncommon anymore. I mean, everybody's pulling something in. They're just at different levels of consciousness about it. There's just still some levels of unconsciousness, like,
Yeah.
and doubt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But all that stuff is great, and I've met some powerful, powerful
Yeah.
people in person and on the show, but they struggle with being human. And I'm
Yeah.
like talking to people on this show, 1,600 episodes, and I'm like, the most powerful transmissions, channelings, and downloads, activations come from these conversations when people are real. And that's
Yeah.
where I see that hashtag human is the hero, or the divine human, like where you're actually integrating the
Yeah.
physical and the non-physical, the heavy and the light,
Yeah.
and the dark and the night and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I think it's a great service to people, those that are just waking up, that are getting these power surges in, getting those wows, because that's a lot to handle on the human psyche. That's a lot for an ego to handle. That's a lot for
Yeah.
anyone that's come through the conditioning we've all come through. It's a lot to handle. Do you
Yeah.
ever get overwhelmed by the force and nature of your connections in the past or even now? Do you ever get rocked a little bit and have to go, hey, wait a minute, I'm pretty clever, but wait a minute.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for me, um, what I'm noticing right now, and I'll get back to my personal story, but I'm noticing right now is that the core is like on top. The core is on top, like our control programs, our power programs, our anger, all of that. It's on top. And it's like which is what I'm working with right now, the structure of how that works, to actually just remove those programs from our body, from our DNA, from all of that. And so that's what I'm working with right now. But yes, I get overwhelmed. I mean, the way I end up taking it on is I find my body getting tense. I find my muscles being sore. I find myself getting fatigued, and I find myself less patient and tolerant. And so what I work to do is like, okay, I'm taking the day off. And I'm also with a very high energy, active 4.5-year-old son that I have, that I'm
Oh
with
my
pretty
God.
much full time.
Yeah.
So that has really amped up my sense of overwhelm, because I'm so I have this deep sensitivity, yet I'm working on, harnessing that. And I have a very balanced experience of dark and light. Like, I can go to the extreme of the dark and I can go to the extreme of the light, but I'm really here to kind of hold the space of the balance, because it's not about being light. It's not about being dark. It's about being able, like you were saying, to work with both of these energies and harness them and utilize them as one force. And so, like, this time in my life, I have to say, it's almost like entering another level and upgrading of my own capabilities. And my dark night of the soul is like, how do I manage my energy when I have this boy that is active from the time he wakes up to time he goes to bed, and it is nonstop. It's nonstop. And I'm like, and these energies coming in are nonstop, right? And I'm like, woo, I gotta ride this wave and really take in what I'm being shown, so I can utilize it for myself and I can work with others. And so the tools that I tend to use, definitely is the breath. The breath is one of the key communication pieces that we can have with ourselves, with the universe, with people around us, that relaxation, taking in the breath and letting everything wash away, for the moment. And just recognizing, like you said, that we're managing all these different pieces. There's no sense of perfection. There's no letting go of the expectation, the anticipation of being this completely enlightened being in perfection, and being in the moment, and just being in the moment. Okay, this moment I act like a total, crazy woman. And then
And
the
own
next
it.
moment, and own
Yeah,
it.
you own it. Yeah,
And then the next moment I'm like, okay, I'm witnessing that. I'm seeing what it's
yeah,
doing to me. And then just move forward.
yeah.
And I find those pieces. So when I'm in the moment with someone who's like, how do I deal with this? It's like, well, I have my own tools and I work with people to create their own custom tools as well as
Mm,
what's really going to benefit them. Who are
mm,
they?
yeah.
What is their energy signature? What is going to work best for you to help you through this experience? And so I think that's kind of where we're at right now is there's not like these universal things that we can say do this except for breathing and meditating and
Yeah.
relaxing, taking hot baths, chilling out, doing something that we enjoy and do the
I've
things that
never
we
tried the
love.
hot bath thing. I don't, people talk about that, but I don't
Oh
want to
man,
interrupt
it's
you,
incredible.
but I keep saying to go take a salt bath, but
Yes, it's very
I can't
cleansing.
sit in the bathtub very long. I don't have an ass and it hurts my ass to sit in the bathtub.
Oh,
So
oh,
maybe I
well,
need to get a cushion or something. But no,
yeah.
I get what you're saying. There seem to be, how would I put this? Yeah, there's not that universal method. Um, there's not that universal place. We're creating it right here. Now,
Creating it.
I do think that there's some common modalities
Hmm.
or that are becoming, that will become more common,
Yeah.
that work. Maybe not
Yeah.
across the board, but they pretty
Yeah.
much work.
Yeah.
But it's work. That's the thing. A lot of times we want
Right.
to snap our fingers, but that human part of us has to go through, at least for a while, has to
Yeah.
go through that serious, brutal honesty, soul to soul, soul
Mhm.
to the universe,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then maybe it becomes easier, and maybe there's a quicker ways to get stuff done. But there does seem to be that element that we can't escape. We can't miss a step. You have to
Right.
go face your demons, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that from the past, as from a child, I felt anger. I
Yeah,
remember being angry in my body for being here. And so it's like now it's like, whoa, I've been working on that, experience and program and emotion of that. And I mean, I literally have the memory of coming to this planet kicking and screaming. I was like, I am not going to that place. And it was
yeah,
there was a lot of other background. I was on Venus at the time and I was really kind of being held, and I had such a powerful deep family there, and I wasn't coming with any of my family. I was just getting thrust into the, and I felt like I was coming when I wasn't ready yet, and
mhm,
it was just it was a very, when I see those things, those memories, it's like, oh, I can go to that place then and heal that experience.
yeah,
And so now I have an acceptance that I'm here to do the mission. I'm here and I'm okay with that.
yeah,
And so I think that's where, when we talk about that overwhelm of being in the human emotional experience is that it's really like you keep saying, that present moment, that
yeah,
focus. What are we going to are we going to focus on the overwhelm?
yeah,
Are we going to focus on what other people are doing that are, making us feel it's no one's making us do anything. We're the ones that are creating what our focus is, that's creating the emotional turbulence.
yeah,
And that's something that I'm very keen and aware of. And so sometimes, like today, my son was just, whoa, just off the hook. I was at this point where I'm like, okay, all right. And I just remember love. Like, I love my son.
yeah.
I love my son, and he's here for a mission. He's
That's
got
right.
his purpose. And so he's dealing with what he's dealing with.
Yeah,
He's ultra sensitive too. And so I'm having to just wrap it all up in this amazing experience for myself, of having compassion for myself, that I'm overwhelmed, having compassion for him, what he's experiencing, and then just taking the next breath and stepping forward into what wants to take
yeah,
place for
yeah.
balance.
No, I've been
So
there. I helped
yeah.
raise 6 kids, and
Oh wow.
been there. You say, you sit there and do a mantra in your head. You love them, but your human wants to wring their neck. No, but another interesting mix is these kids coming in, like your
Yeah.
4-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old. That's
Hmm.
a really powerful thing. I know I learned a lot in 2014 and 15 with my two youngest, which were they were like 11 and 12 to 13 and 14 during that time period, and they were girls, which
Hmm.
as a single dad, that exacerbates everything. But there was something about there was something about their energy flow that totally contradicted me being a parent. like it,
Mhm.
because my conditioning as a parent, you know, where you can't do
Yes.
this and you need to do that, and you better eat
Yes.
this and don't eat that.
Mhm.
Uh, but when I started to let them flow, the house got really messy. But the energy got really good. You know, and
Yeah.
I wonder
Mhm.
for you, you know, with your life experience, and of course with your memories,
Yeah.
the good the solid recall you have of some of your other lives and such. How does that work for you? Do you communicate with his higher self or his
Yes.
multidimensional aspects? Is there any continuity uh, from that conversation at a higher level that you can see materializing in the literal human experience?
Yeah, it's very interesting because when I was 5 months pregnant with him, Archangel Michael came to me and said, "This is an aspect of me coming through," told me his name that he wanted to take on in this life, and told me what his purpose was for being here. And it was from that point that he told me that. And then it was a little later on where I was like introduced to his higher self. And then
Mm,
through the rest of the pregnancy, I had a very strong communication with his higher self, and I still do. And so there are moments when I'm seeing these behaviors that seem kind of out of balance with who I see he is.
yeah,
And I go to his higher self and I say, "What's going on here? How can I, what do I need to do to help you, along here? Because this seems to be like the word you use, contradictory."
yeah.
And it's just almost like he's gotta go through this,
Yeah.
and somehow I'm gonna have to manage.
Well, it's for
And
you too.
it's for
Yeah,
me too.
you ordered it.
Too.
Yeah.
I ordered it,
Well, and
totally,
that, yeah.
totally it. And so there are techniques that his higher self has given me to use with
Mm,
him that have worked.
wow.
And also, when I talk to him and I say, I'm sorry, I get so frustrated with you and angry with you
Mm,
sometimes. And he said to me, he said, "You want to know what? I'm not here to take on this karma. It's not affecting me as deeply and badly as you think it is, or how your childhood was for you."
yeah.
And I said, "Yes, I
Wow.
know. I still don't want to be I still don't want to be acting this way with you." And he said, "It's just let this experience happen,
Yeah.
because like you said, it's for both of us,
It
right?" And
is. Yeah.
so
Which that and
I get
that kind
that.
of complicates it a little bit, but
Yeah.
well, it does, you
Yeah.
know. And I haven't lived
Mhm.
with my kids in any of my kids for
Mhm.
you know, 4 years, I guess.
Yeah.
But but I still I don't do it often, but I still connect. You know, I'll still take a few moments and I'll go boom, 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 boom. And what I've noticed, and we don't talk as much. And I was very, very, you know, much into my family and my kids, of course. So we all have our stories and all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say we have a very strong heart connection with all my kids. But
Nice.
over the last 4 years, you know, it's contradictory to where I come from because I don't talk to them. I talk to him here and
Mhm.
occasionally talk to him. Like I had a birthday yesterday, which I don't, you know, what we used to call a birthday, right?
Yeah.
And I think two contacted out of six, which is not a big deal. It doesn't mean they don't love me.
Mm.
And what I'm trying to say is these little connections that I make when I take the time,
Yeah.
they've gotten smoother and smoother and smoother to the point where I've had periods of 3 or 4 or 5 nights in a row where I'm with my kids in lucid dream or
Mm.
in dream state building stuff together, and the
Mhm.
frequency is just like amazing. So I
Yeah.
think these kids are bringing something to the table, uh and to be going through what we're all going through and to have a 4 year old in the house, I think that would be just that would be like the ultimate extremes of the spectrum, you know, like trying to, yeah, how could you not be more human than that, you
Yeah.
know, and then on the other end connecting. So that must give you a lot of perspective and contrast to be able to find a really uh, fine, acute 0 point.
Yeah, and that's the key. Like the words that you used before is get into that flow.
Mhm.
I feel like that's what we're all being, really called to do, is get into our flow. Who really are we, and what is our flow? What's the frequency that that we can be optimal at? And I know it's going to change from moment to moment and experience this mirror the more we wake up. But that flow is where the magic happens,
Yeah,
right? And like, so when you let your kids have their flow, yeah, it's great.
yeah,
um, and my own flow. And so that's what I'm working with, is okay, really navigating his flow, which is really he wants to be with me all the time. He's very tactile, it's like constant, it's constant body contact, and so it's like kind of going, okay, well, how can I flow with this? And so when
Yeah.
I finally, just went through this experience recently where, he's just been coming up to me and he's constantly like nudging me and hitting me and,
Mm.
wanting my attention on a very tactile level. And it would just, the bombardment to my nervous system, right? And it's been really overwhelming. And so finally it was like, okay, I'm just going to accept it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to accept it into my body, into my energy field, what he's putting into the space right now, because he's communicating something.
Yes.
And so when I receive it and I accept it, then we're more capable of entering into a flow together. And I see that he's having his own issues of all these experiences coming through. It's overwhelming for him. He doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the key for all of us, is being able to be in that space of just accepting,
Yeah.
receiving, and letting it integrate and do what it needs to do, even though these experiences seem to be one on top of each other. That the more we just go, okay, it's just happening. It's like being on a roller coaster ride. You're strapped in, you can't get off now. You got to go with the flow of the ride, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, without
the
that judgment,
beauty.
without
Yeah.
that judgment, it allows that free flow. And maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking with these kids, is that they're actually bringing in something that I don't know how you would put this, but like say in your case, okay,
Mhm.
it might be a situation where they bring in a certain something that, due to the fact that you uh, have to learn to integrate with it, something creative comes out of it, such as
Yes.
maybe in your practice you end up becoming one of your specialties becomes uh, coaching single parents with you know tornado turbulent children. But I mean, dealing
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of components there.
There
I
are.
mean, we talked to some parents, and they're talking about their kids said, "Hey, I remember when chose to come down here, when I picked my family, when I was in Earth School, being prepared to be here."
Yeah.
There's that part of it, then there's the human part of it, of these kids being labeled ADHD,
Yeah.
ADD, and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and Asperger's and all that. So
Y-
maybe that's going to be a necessity. Maybe that's
Yeah.
part of what they're bringing to the tables to drive a further creative force out of us, or something that we hadn't thought of.
Yeah, I think there's definitely power in that, and I'll speak on that. And what I wanted to share as well is that, we're okay. So yeah, when these children of these higher abilities come through, which seems to be very across the board right now,
Yeah.
their energy systems, the DNA they're coming with, everything like that is not in harmony yet with this planet.
Yeah.
And some of are in real harmony with it. And so when they get put into a structure of the food that they're being fed, the EMF the TV, the phones, the school structures, it activates these imbalances, which we call autism, ADHD, Asperger's, and stuff like that. Because it's having to wake us up and say, wait a minute, we need to create completely different, uh,
Yeah.
so like I'm unschooling my son, he's like, I wasn't happy in that type of experience. And so I see that these children are, yeah, a bringer of the new structure of our planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of how are we going to educate our children? What are we going to teach them? How are we going to teach
Yeah.
them? The food, yeah, it's a crisis, for everybody, but it's being shown through them,
It's like a new level of conscious parenting, because there's a new
yes,
set of dynamics here.
it's a totally
And
new dynamic.
and the thing is it's one thing to be talking about 9-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even these 20 somethings that we've been talking to recently. Some of the information is absolutely incredible,
Yeah,
and it's literally life changing in the moment.
yeah,
But these young ones who have yet gotten to the point to really verbalize things, I mean, it could be a huge game changer, just in maybe it's going to happen this year. I don't know.
Well, that's
Because
what I see. I see a lot of the technologies that they're going to be bringing in, a lot of the information that they're bringing in is going to be bridging, with like what we're doing, like me and you and all the other people that are waking up right now. We're going to be at the point where we can go, okay, I get that. And
yes,
recognize it. And
yes,
then we can bring it in, and there's not going to be such a big
yeah,
gap of, oh, whoa. And
oh,
so it's going to
yeah.
be a critical mass, and it's going to be a very fast change.
And if you think
And
about
so
what's
right
happening,
now, as we've been talking about,
yeah,
uh,
go ahead. There's a lag.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you think about the
um,
way
the
everything,
communication
yeah, there's a
that's
lag.
happening.
Keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, there's a lag.
Keep going.
Okay. With the communication that's going on right now, I mean, that's, I think, the key piece that is like we're really being asked
Yeah,
to recognize is that everything is communication.
yeah,
Everything is communication. Our thoughts, our feelings, what we're just a constant receiver and transmitter. And if we can recognize that everything is a piece of communication, then we can understand what we're doing better with ourselves, that we can come more in tune with our bodies and saying, oh, is this food good for me right now? Is it not good for me right now? Is this interaction, this relationship? It's just information and communication.
yeah,
And so I feel like once we get on that, witnessing more, higher plane of witnessing what communication really is, then we'll be able to be more easeful with actually changing
yeah,
and allowing these new structures to take
yeah.
place, right?
Which some of
Yeah.
those come in the form of these incredible children. So, it's like
Yes. Yes.
with everything getting turned upside down, what was up is down and left was right and all that. These kids coming in, it's almost like, and maybe it's not a verbal thing, but it's like we're so used to and conditioned to telling them what they need to do and what they need to know and what's right and what's not right, that maybe it's going to flip. And I think that's kind of what you were saying too. It's like, we're here, they make the information available and we're able to get it because
Yeah.
we have been a kind of a bridge.
Yeah.
They're bringing the new code, new technology, new data.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not really about them telling us or us telling them. It's us going, hey, who are we? Let's come together.
Mm-hmm.
And not seeing them as necessarily our children. I mean,
Right.
yeah, came out of my body and it happened because of what I did, but at the same time, and yeah, we have these soul connections, yet let's just see them as these, creative, powerful beings that have exactly what they need right now. And how can we foster that for our own
Yeah.
growth, for the planet's growth, and looking at the benefit for all? And that's kind of the power of, what you say is like coaching for parents. That's one of the things that I do with people is I do these soul level readings of who are you and why are you with the partner you're with? What soul contracts do you have? Why did you come together? What's your past life history? What's going on? Children, siblings, mother, father, that's something that I'm able to see is that whole construct, that whole family
Wow.
construct of level of soul connection and purposes. And then not only that, but your strengths and challenges of being together.
Yeah.
And where can you work? And so that's something that I've done with my son, and I see that, and it's just at play right now. And we're just working with the dynamics that are the frequency, the dynamics, the dimensional frequencies and aspects that are being created when we're together, geometries.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Very cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We could talk about a lot of different things. Maybe we can hook back up in the first part of 2020 and
Yeah, that would be
do a
wonderful.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
with a couple of these things that we just hit on that we didn't really get into too much.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? You're on Facebook,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yes, I'm
Um,
on Facebook. I have, you can find me. I have an Awakened Soul page on Facebook, and I also have an Awakened Soul Community with Kristen private Facebook group that I do a lot of different things and, readings and trainings and I do a lot of free stuff in there for people. So that's kind of the place if you really want to interact with me and get to know me. I also have a YouTube channel, Awakened Soul with Kristen. So yeah,
can you put the links in the comments after the show's over so people?
sure.
Okay, I think that would be good. We got to make it as user friendly as possible. You know how
Yeah.
lazy all of us have gotten in this internet age. But
Yeah, I'd love to.
it was a pleasure meeting you. It was a very enjoyable talking to you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence, sharing space with us, and the best
Yes.
to you and your son. Give him a
Yes,
big,
thank you.
give him a big third eye kiss from Uncle Todd.
I sure will, Todd. Thank you so much. Be in peace. Look forward to
All right.
connecting again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Mm.